Welcome to Subramani. I was reading something about the spacecraft program of the US. So, the Apollo 13 was coming back to Earth, and it was about 2 lakh, I think, miles away from the Earth when they heard a big explosion, a small explosion, I would say, and they were very scared. And 6 days later, like they say, a nail biting finish, they reached safe. And then the analysts there or the scientists there sat down and did a research, and they found that there was the tank where the internal temperature had got too high, which created problem for the liquid oxygen. Then again heat increased so bad that the nuts and bolts got melted, and it led to an explosion. So which means they had lesser oxygen, but they did come back. So let me just read the exact sequence of what went wrong, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this. High temperature inside the oxygen tank had melted the wire insulation, causing them to short circuit and produce sparks, igniting more insulation problems, which had boiled the liquid oxygen inside the tank and caused the internal pressure to exceed the limit and blow off the nuts and bolts, like I had said. So it's very unlikely that such a sequence of events would happen, but it does happen, right? How do you handle such situations? Do you have to worry about such situations? Can they happen to you in personal life? Well, it can happen. Like right now, a friend of mine, his father is in hospital, and the amount of money that they are spending is absolutely insane. In the last about 3 months, they must have spent upwards of 55 to 60 lakhs. Right, so and it's been caused by a very simple thing. They were in a big famous Apollo hospital when they found a bed sore, and that got treated. Then they were not happy, they shifted him to another hospital. That bed sore had to be treated, and because that bed sore was somewhere in the leg, they could not take a risk, so there was a catheter, and all those things happening for a person who also had dementia. And they went through hell, I mean, in terms of money, in terms of drugs. And luckily for them, the father is protected by the Sarkar, and the son is abroad, but he keeps coming on and off. The part which I am trying to come to is the amount of money that was needed was available in deposits, etc. Son is doing very well. Now take a worst case scenario. Son is working in Twitter, he has lost his job, and he doesn't know what to do. His wife is in US looking after 2 kids. He is here, and things go wrong, right? These things are happening, and the insurance company says, sorry, but we will not cover beyond so much. He did not have adequate insurance, so he has to break exactly at a time when he has lost his job, right? So these kind of sequence of events is something which worry us. And I know another case where 85-year-old man and an 80-year-old woman completely totally dependent on their son, about 55 years of age, who had a bad marriage, so estranged wife. The son was looking after all the finances, doing all the shopping. He would run around for the parents. He was currently perhaps unemployed. He had and the son died. Such tragic circumstances. He had lost all his brothers, sisters. He had one nephew in the US. No way how the nephew was going to come. She had one sister who was bedridden in another part of India. The estranged daughter-in-law came, and she looked after them for about 18 months, by which time both of them had died. Right. So these kind of sequence of events are something which we are not prepared for. So similarly, somewhere while preparing for retirement or reading about retirement, you would have come across the 4% withdrawal rule from the US. For a minute, let us accept that the 4% withdrawal rule holds true for you also. What you're really worried is about the sequence of the bad news that can come, the sequence of return risk. So you start with, and you have a 20% fall in the market, right? So your 1 crore has become, let's say, 80 lakhs. So you have to withdraw 4%. So 4% you thought, okay, you will be able to withdraw 4 lakhs. Now you will still be able to withdraw 4 lakhs, but 4 lakhs is no longer 4%, it is 5%, right? Because of the 20% fall. Which means in the worst case, when the market has fallen, you have to still withdraw, right? That's what happens. That is why we have something called the bucket theory, and saying, so you will withdraw from the equity markets when equities are doing well, but you will withdraw from debt markets when when equity is not doing well. So equity not doing well, 20% fall, that is the time when you should be withdrawing from your debt bucket. Afterwards, again the market is a 30% jump, fantastic, you go back to your corpus being what it was, then you start withdrawing from the equity bucket. Right, so this sequence of risks which can happen, you can retire at a very bad time, and then market can go through hell, right? From what, 2009, 2010, we have been having a longish bull market, and maybe the index is up 3 times, or your portfolio is up 3 times. So everybody thinks, oh, it's a great time to be investing in the market, you should have leveraged and things like that, and that can hurt. Right, so we are looking at a very nice period of our equity returns, and we are extrapolating that over the next 20-30 years. That may not be very sensible to do, right? So the 4% rule was created by somebody called Bill Bengen, and he said, oh, I'm now saying 4% will work in perpetuity. So if you're going to work, if you're going to live for 35 years, maybe even 4.1 or 4.4 may work, but if you think you have to plan for perpetuity, then you have to plan for only 4%. Now again, this is an assumption that everything will turn out fine. Like I said, in my friend's father's case, suddenly from 45 lakhs is withdrawn from your capital for paying for something. Luckily, he is a Sarkari person. He's got a very senior position in the Sarkar, so everything is being taken care of by either the Sarkar or by some insurance which they already have. Wife is also a Sarkari person, so they have adequate insurance, they have adequate money. They have one son who is abroad and who is also doing well. He does not have a job in Twitter or somewhere, he's not being laid off. But yeah, with all those uncertainties, now take a worst case scenario. If the insurance company had not paid, or the son had lost his job, what would have they done, right? So the sequence in which some of these events happen, like I said, what happened to Apollo 13, that is what worries you. Now when somebody says very confidently that 4% will work, they are assuming that 4% will work. Imagine out of that 1 crore, if 45 lakhs gets pulled out for looking after 1% for 2-3 months, what happens to the whole corpus, right? So you have to have adequate insurance, but what is adequate insurance? I go around saying 20 lakhs insurance is adequate. Here I see in 2 months 45 lakhs being pulled out of reserves which they had. Luckily they had the reserves, right? Now you do not know how long you will live. You do not know how much will be your health related expenses. You do not know what return you will get. You do not know whether the 4% rule will work in perpetuity, will work in India. In India, should it be 5%? Should it be 3%? Will inflation be high? We know none of these things. Therefore, with so much of uncertainty, with sequence risk, with the fact that if you are dependent on 1% looking after you, looking after the money, looking after the finances, looking after your food, looking after your medical, what happens if that person goes away? What happens if that caregiver goes away? It's not that your children don't want to look after you, but all of us today have one kid, right? So what happens if something happens to the kid and the kid can't? The kid is not there. The kid just can't come. Like COVID times, the kid is just not allowed to come. You're here, you're suffering, your kid is in Singapore, your kid is in US, does not know whether he or she wants to take the risk of quitting the job and coming here and not being able to go back. That's a risk which many of these kids won't take, right? So these are the risks that you have to worry about. You have to worry about the risk that if you exhaust your money by the age of 78, you may have to then go and live with your kid, and you may live 16 years with your kid, right? Very unwillingly. So those are the risks which you have to understand, not just what return you will get and which fund to choose. Those are of course risks which are there. But some of these risks are something which you have to sit, think, tabulate, and see what will happen, and not go by saying, oh, 90% of the people will be able to withdraw 4%. That's fantastic. What happens if you are not in that 90%? What happens if you are hit by two, three bad decisions. The market falls, so you withdraw, you keep money somewhere, and that money is lost, right? This happened to a person working in Jet Airways. He had got a compensation and he had kept that in PMC, Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank. So you have lost your job, you have your corpus, you keep your corpus in the bank, and that bank closes down. Some of these terrible things can happen. So being prepared for all that. I'm not saying it is going to happen to you. I'm hoping it does not happen to anybody. But being prepared for such risks is very important while planning for longer terms. Thank you.